until the final sirens go.
Tiger fans, it's time for the round 5 debrief. We unfortunately went down today to Fremantle by 61 points, 16-12, 108 to 7-5, 47, in really what was essentially a tale of two halves, which kind of feels like a bit of a common theme for a lot of our games, and I think that's going to be the case for at least all of 2025, probably even some of 2026 as well. It's just where we're at. We're going to have a lot of inconsistencies, unfortunately, but let's talk about the game in its two separate halves, because I think we have to view the games a little bit differently. I don't think there's any point looking at it in its full totality, because we're going to be left with a shit thought and feeling of the game because of how the second half panned out. But the first half, especially the first quarter, I thought we were looking really, really good. I think we're only a couple of points behind at quarter time, and then 10 points behind at halftime. So in the first half, our pressure was really good. I think at one stage our pressure ranking was about 203 compared to Freo's, which might have been in the 160s, 170s. That's a really good sign to be able to execute that type of pressure consistently for a quarter and a half, 2 quarters was really good to see. And look, unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable for the full 4 quarters, but to see it play out that way at the start was good to see the players cracking in and applying some serious heat early on. Ball movement-wise, night and day between first half and second half. I still see a lot of comments about, we don't have a game plan, what's the game plan, I want to see something. But when you step back and think about it, if you break the game down into quarters or halves, the game plan was there to see in the first half, and it was working well because we were in front for 33 minutes of the first half, or we were only very narrowly behind. So I think that's enough proof to say that there's a game plan there. So I don't buy into there not being a game plan. What I think ends up happening is people have an overarching view that there was no game plan because all they can kind of remember is the second half and how bad it was, and there was no game plan in the second half, let's be honest. But that first half, we saw signs of what we want to see in the future. Those 45-degree kicks into the middle of the ground opens up the game, gives you more scoring opportunities, and we made the most of it. Lowering our eyes, hitting our leading targets. Massive difference in the first half and the second half. Second half, we just literally blazed away at every chance we got, and it was just far too easy for Freo to chop that out and counter-attack. We just completely lost our way. And look, I don't know what to put it down to. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of experience. It's a combination, or a lack of experience. It's a combination of Fremantle being a pretty decent side themselves. So they obviously tightened up in the second half. But that, make no mistake, that second half was pretty disappointing. And I would hazard a guess that Uze and the players would be pretty shitty as well. To be only behind by 10 points at half-time, and I think we kicked 6 goals in the first half, which was a really, really good start. Everyone was positive. To then only kick 1 goal for the rest of the game in the second half was really deflating, to be honest. It really just shouldn't happen. I mean, there was a few times where we had 450 entries that we just absolutely butchered, kicking it over someone's head, kicking it to ground, and then by contrast, Fremantle went up the other end and they'd hit their leading targets and they would convert their chances. And that proves to be the difference at the end of the day. Like I said, Freo, much better team on the day and fully deserved the win. But we just didn't help our own cause in being able to score some other chances in the second half, which was really frustrating. Essentially what ended up happening, it just looked like we went back into our shells. Freo, to their credit, ramped the heat up. I think they were at one stage at about 215 pressure acts, and we were in like the 150, so we dropped right off. They ramped right up. And of course, that started to mean we were missing targets. A lot of our players were under more pressure when they got the ball, and they were able to cause turnover and kind of do what they wanted to do, which ended up hurting. So, look, not the ideal second half, and it's something that we have to get to work on. And while it's frustrating, there's an element of we have to understand that we're probably going to be copping that for a little while to come, just that inconsistency. And it's not an excuse, it's just a reality. It's a reality of where we're at. We'll play some good halves, we'll play some good quarters, but I suppose the hope is as the season gets on, you want to see that progress into 2.5 quarters and then 3 quarters, and so on and so on. You get the picture. But anyway, let's have a look at some individual players that stood out before we go into some other bits and pieces. Jacob Hopper led the way with disposals, 33 disposals, 6 tackles, 5 clearances. I thought he was really solid today. Tim Taranto, 36 disposals, 7 tackles, 4 clearances. The one I really want to point out, though, was Luke Traynor. Luke Traynor had 22 touches, 10 marks, if you don't mind, and 412 metres gained. And look, I know he had a couple of turnovers at various stages, but the ball was down there a bit, and to be honest, the heat from Freo was ramped up quite a bit in the second half. So I'm not going to crucify the guy for that. It's his 5th game, but he is looking all of an AFL player. And I know we've said it before, but we've just got to keep playing him as long as his body's holding up and he's not sore and things like that. He just looks more and more settled each week. And I don't know whether it's Rising Star nomination worthy or not. It's a pretty impressive game, but we're also in a side that lost heavily, so I don't know how much that factors in. But he was really good. I really enjoyed his game. Hugo Ralphsmith was another one that I really liked in his first game back after he played obviously VFL last week and clocked up some good Ks to prove he was fit and ready to go. 16 disposals, 6 marks, 2 tackles, 1 clearance. It was his work rate for me. He worked his ass off all day, and the amount of unrewarded running that he did that doesn't register a stat, but it allowed someone else to slip into a pocket of space behind him or something like that was huge. I encourage people to watch how hard he runs without the ball to try and get to the next contest, which opens up a lot of other avenues. So he was definitely a welcomed addition back onto the wing, added some much needed pace, and I really liked his game. Morris Rioli Jr., look, I know the second half, a lot of them faded, to be honest, but that first half when we were playing our style and our brand and what we want to execute on a 4-quarter basis, when we were playing that football, he was an integral part of that, and that's a good sign. Got 2 goals, got some early possessions, which got his confidence up, which is what was something we've spoken about previously, and he was looking up and about. Unfortunately, like I said, faded in the second half, but realistically, the whole forward line faded in the second half because we didn't even give ourselves half a chance to get it down there. So not at all pinning that on him whatsoever. It was a whole team thing, but I just wanted to really point out and focus on the importance of the role that he played in the point in time where we were playing our best football, which is what we want to see in the future. And I just thought it was good from him, and we want to see more of it. Who else had a good game? I'm trying to think who else had a really good game. Look, Vossen got a nasty hit to the head, didn't he, at the end? Was it from Voss? Vossen did really well too, I felt. 9 marks, 3 tackles, 20 disposals. Look, I know the 9 marks is a bit of a byproduct of the ball being down there quite a bit, but yeah, he's starting to settle into a bit of a rhythm. I think the whole back 6 is, unfortunately, it was probably Miller that had the stinker of the game with Tracy getting off the leash and kicking 5 or 6 goals. But whether that's a bit of team defence stuff, Miller had some accountability that he has to own as well. What I would have liked to have seen, and we said it during the live call, that after maybe the 3rd goal, maybe we should have just put Blight back there and maybe Miller could have done the backup rucking, which he has done before, so that's not foreign to him. Just feel like that Blight would have had better closing speed. It just would have been good to have maybe mixed it up and tried something a little bit different to try and limit Tracy's influence, because he was killing us. He absolutely tore us apart down there. Tom Brown was the other one I wanted to mention too. 24 disposals, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 1 clearance. Again, he had a couple of iffy moments. Again, a young player though, it's going to happen, but I really love when he's got the ball and he kicks it well. Even late in the game when we weren't taking the game on as much, there was 1 or 2 times where he did take an inboard kick, which was a risky kick, which paid off, which turned into a shot on goal. That's the kind of stuff you want to see all the time. So I want a big shout out Tom Brown for that. So more of that, please. And let him take the kickouts. I couldn't quite understand why Ben Miller was taking the kickouts when we had a 2.5 goal breeze going down that way. Let Brown, let Short, let the guys who can pump the ball 65 metres with that wind take those kickouts. It didn't really make a lot of sense. But anyway, we'll look at some team stats quickly. There's a couple that really stand out that make a huge difference in a game of footy. Inside 50s, which is actually something we're traditionally not too bad at. We will often get 40 or 50 inside 50s, but just not convert, which isn't great, obviously. But today we only had 36 inside 50s, and our average for 2025 is 41.8. Freo, on the other hand, had 65 inside 50s, and their average is 55. So they were 10 above their average. And if you're going to concede 65 inside 50s, you'll almost certainly lose more than you win, unless there's some extraordinary type of conversion issue for the team who's got the more inside 50s. Clearance-wise, we lost the clearances by 10. I reckon if you were to look at these numbers at halftime, we would have maybe been ahead or close to even. It was just the second half blew a lot of these numbers out, and it really started to show. What was probably a little bit frustrating again, so the first half, things are going well. We're playing good footy. You've got Taranto, Hopper, Ross, Camden McIntosh, Tom Thompson Dow attending 98% of the centre bounces between those guys. Great, it's working, so why not keep doing it? In the second half, again, I sound like a broken record, but when shit's not going your way, Freo were clearly belting us in this part of the game in the second half, but they kept persisting with the same guys. I just want to see some variety in there. Mix it up. Try and break the mold. Try and get something back on our terms. Add a bit of spark in there. Just do something different instead of going with the same old for the entire 4 quarters, no matter where the game's at. It's just a little bit frustrating. And I'm sure there's a method to the madness. But I can't make, like, from a coaching perspective, I can't make sense of it. If you're getting smashed in an area in a half of football, change it up. Don't just let it run status quo and hope for the best. Like I said, when you're on top, it's fine. But when you're getting beaten, try something else. But anyway, I think I've said that a few weeks in a row, so I don't want to sound too repetitive, but it's just a bugbear. The other stat was marks inside 50. This was a killer. We had 4 marks inside 50, and we averaged 8.2, so under half of what we would usually get in a game. And Fremantle had 17 marks inside 50, and they averaged 13.2. That stat simply comes down to Fremantle's ability to be composed and use the ball well while going inside 50, lower their eyes, hit their leading forwards, put it to their forwards' advantage so they can mark it, and they convert it accordingly. Whereas we were very much in that second half, just blast kicking it in, hoping for the best. Even when our players were leading, we were missing targets. So it's a bit of composure, a bit to do with Freo's pressure and our ability to maybe not handle it, and probably a lot to do with confidence as well that the second half we were getting slaughtered in. And look, they're things you can probably work on and fix hopefully over time, because by contrast in the first half, when we were up in the air and we were confident, we were hitting those targets, which was good. Tom Lynch, look, interesting game from Big Lynch. He kicked a goal. You want him to be a bit more damaging, don't you? Like, you still know he's going to take the best opposition forward. I think we just need him to impact more contest. And I don't even mean marking it. I just mean smashing into bodies and bringing it to ground. Doing what Jonty Fall and what Harry Armstrong and players like that are doing as well. I don't know. I'm at a little bit of a loss with what to do there, but he's our most experienced forward, and we've got to keep him out there to help these other young guys out. I don't know whether he's got a niggle. He obviously went off with a calf soreness or cramp or whatever, or a corky at the end. So hopefully he's okay for next week. But I just want to see some more input from him. And look, he's only played about 9 or 10 games in 2 years, so he's bound to find his groove soon, hopefully. But yeah, fingers crossed on that front. But that is pretty much it for the debrief for the round 5 game. A tale of 2 halves, like I said, and look, that's what we're going to have to get used to. Hopefully we get some players back next week. Lawler would be a good inclusion if he comes in, just with his precise kicking. Jonty Fall, so I want to give a shout out to Jonty Fall for his debut. Spewing that he didn't get that goal at the end. We were all cheering for him to kick that. It felt like a regulation shot, but he just didn't connect with it well. But he was still doing well. A couple of nice taps early into our players' advantage. Took a couple of nice marks, crash packs, did all the small things really well. And look, given the Harry Armstrong situation, I would assume that Jonty Fall will get an extended run at this for about at least 4 or 5 weeks, and then maybe they'll bring Tom Sims in or something like that. But yeah, well done to Jonty Fall on his debut. The final question I want to ask everybody, what's everyone's thoughts on Jacob Bauer as sub? I don't fully understand it, if I'm being honest. I don't quite get why teams would put a tall or a key position forward, hybrid, whatever you want to call him, as your sub. This 2 weeks in a row now he's been sub, so I feel like it's either he gets dropped next game or he plays the full game. I don't think he's going to be sub for a 3rd time. We tend not to do that. I just felt in the heat of, like, with how hot it was in Adelaide, and I think to assist in our game plan, it would have been better to have a runner. Having said that, Lynch is the one that goes off, so it ends up being a bit more like for like. So maybe, again, method to the madness, and it worked out. But I don't know. I just feel like we're not as dynamic with our subs as some other teams are. But anyway, that's probably a different discussion for a different time. That's the debrief. Let us know what you thought about the game. Give us your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 votes in the comments below. What did you like? What did you dislike? And remember, we're looking for small green shoots, small little patches of play, and hopefully we just see it evolve more and more as the season gets on. So, yeah, not a great result, but we'll keep punching on. And we'll be live tomorrow night, Monday night, for the weekly show about 8:30 p.m. Special announcement coming for that show, so make sure you tune in, and we will see you there. Go Tigers.